is my city, and I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Welcome back to the Stockwell Roueche Show. I'm Jason Stockwell with RE/MAX Results.
Josh Roueche, RE/MAX Advantage Plus.
We have Matty B in studio with Gradient Home Mortgage, and Bob Lux, a developer with Aladdis. We've been talking about his history of how he got to be a developer, the projects, the stomach it takes to do the projects, what's going on downtown, some of the convenience factors that you may be listening and be scared of downtown because where do I park?
Right.
That's what I thought when
Schools, where do I park?
And all the busyness and all that stuff, and now the mini Ubers, the rent-a-bikes, the convenience factors that are happening downtown. We're talking about apartment demand just barely being met by the a little over 2,000 apartments that have been built in the last couple of years. And then Bob was, before break, talking about the condo building that he may propose or is in the works. Maybe you can tell us about that.
Well, it's and we're still evaluating whether we're going to do it as a condo building or an apartment building. It's a great location. It's right above the old St. Anthony Main, right on Central Avenue.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So we're half a block from Lund's. We're across the street from a park. Views of the river are spectacular. And the neighborhoods are both supported us in doing a 35-story tower. So the kind of the easy thing for us to do would be to do an apartment building. Well, the reality is what the market really wants, though, is a condo. Mm-hmm. And the problem with doing a condo from a developer standpoint is the lift is really heavy. I mean, 2000...
What do you mean by that?
Well, from 2007, 2008, and 2009, a lot of lenders and a lot of equity folks got just clobbered during the recession. Yep. And they call it a recession. In the real estate business, it was a depression. Mm-hmm. Make no bones about
Correct.
it. Mm-hmm. And so they're slow coming back in. So what I mean by that it's a heavy lift is you have to basically put up 50% equity. So if you're doing if you're doing a $100 million deal, it's $50 million of equity, and that's a huge chunk. Yep. And it's and so that's really probably
how does that compare? Sort of cut off. How does that compare to an apartment?
Apartment typically 25%.
Okay,
so it's like double.
Yeah. So is it changed that much from say like 2006, 2007? The financing demand, it's totally different.
From the Carlisle and the Grant Park when you were doing those,
totally different.
Really?
We were able to really skinny the amount of equity down, but I mean there was recourse loans on there, but that's part of the reason that the lenders got in trouble. Our projects were successful, so I have no concerns about that. We structured them correctly, and the demand in the product at the time was unbelievable. And when we launched the Carlisle, we had over 500 people standing outside the door on the Saturday morning when we did. I mean, we sold out 70% of the building, 254 units in one day.
Wow.
But it was a different time.
Yeah.
But those times, I believe, are coming back.
Absolutely, they are.
But the opportunity is there. The difficulty of doing it and the risk that it takes to do it. When you're talking about the stomach, it's a heavy lift.
50% on that large of an amount equity down is
a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah. And that'll probably start to reduce. It'll probably go down to 40%, but that still is a lot. And the other thing is that in Minnesota, there's some kind of latent defects liabilities that developers take on when you're doing condominiums, where the big one is there's a 10-year warranty that is imputed into the deal that somebody can come back to you in the 9th year, or the association can come back to you in the 9th year and claim, that the building was faulting, and it's supposed to be structural, but of course, a good attorney can make it, whether if the wood floor is shrinking a little bit, that you can come back. So the risk that you're taking on the exposure of latent defects is really hard.
And so you got to factor that into the budget when you go in, because you think, and it usually happens at the end of that, like you said, in the 9th year, being that it's a 10-year deal. If they're going to get anything out of it, and the association may need some money, or by then you've had some wear and tear on the building, and they want to kind of,
9 years.
I had a client that we were trying to do a refinance for, and they were literally, and it's kind of like it's a game that they play with you guys. It literally in the 9th year, they're going back in. We've got flashing issues on the upper part of this building where we're now having deterioration, and now the
laundry list comes out.
The laundry list comes out. The association's now involved in a lawsuit, and guess what happens? The guy who wants to refinance his house, who's down 10 floors from where the problem's happening, can't do anything because the association's in the midst of a lawsuit.
Oh, so it affects
Now this,
all the
now this
owners.
guy's stuck
everything.
with a call it a 6.5% interest rate where rates are 2 points lower than that.
Yeah.
Puts not just the builder and the developer in a really bad spot, but that harms everybody in that building too.
Right.
Yep.
And a lot of times it's not being driven by an association that really has just a small problem. If it's a relatively minor problem, the developer will normally just go in and fix that. I mean, it's not an issue. Well, what happens though is the attorneys kind of drive this. The attorneys there's a group of attorneys that go around and literally pitch to associations. They track when they're coming up on that 9th year, and they actually it is a bit of a game for them. And it is difficult because what it does, they sue everybody. They sue the developer, the builder, the subcontractors, the architects, the structural guys. So all of a sudden now you're in a room with 8 or 10 attorneys, and now the money is just flowing, and it's just people don't want to deal with that. That's the problem. So we do need legislative change.
I was going to ask you about that. Is that
no?
something
We're trying to, because I don't think any of us are concerned about providing a true 10-year structural. It would be better if it was 7, but if it has to be 10 years, it probably. But it has to only deal with the structure.
Very specific. You can't throw on all these other.
It cannot be open up where it can be absolutely everything. And then there's some other things that we're doing that I think could really mitigate that. So back to there's plenty of demand, but the challenge is trying to validate in a developer's mind is, should I take that risk and should we do it? And I love building condos. I mean, because you're dealing with an excited client because they're excited to get into it. They're getting a brand new home, and they're going to get the views. And a lot of them are transitioning life. A lot of them are coming from the suburbs, and they're it's exciting to be around that. And quite honestly, from a developer standpoint, it's easier to build a 1,400 or a 2,000 square foot unit than it is a 670 square foot unit. I mean, they're just you've got more flexibility in making things.
Than the 670, those are the more the apartments.
That's the apartments.
Yep.
You'd mentioned, Jason, that we're doing Latitude 45, which is right on. It's a 13-story building on Washington Avenue between 3rd and 4th across from the depot.
The ice skating depot, if everybody knows where that is on Washington, you look across, there's a big building going up, and that is Bob's apartment building called Latitude 45.
And we're really excited about that one. And we've just put up the website, which will be available on your guys' website, I presume.
Yep.
But we've just put up the website, and we're getting unbelievable hits on this thing. And so our leasing office opens actually the 15th of March, and so
nice.
but it's fun because the millennials, back to the millennials, Casey, is that they're the younger folks. What makes a great city is if you're taking people that have come from all over the country and really in a lot of ways all over the world to be educated in Minnesota or particularly in Minneapolis and St. Paul at the university or any Augsburg or any of the other 8 or 10 colleges that we have. So you educate these people, and if we can hold them in Minneapolis and get them to love our city, I'll tell you, and we do have. It's been the history of our state. Really, is that we've been able to hold on to these well-educated people. That's what we've got to do in the future.
How do you feel? That brings me on a side topic, real quick, about there's a lot of money that the city's putting in, and a lot of projects and stuff going on into the city. And people think, oh, that's wasting our taxpayer dollars. But you might think, what I'm hearing from you is that it's investing because you're going to get that back by keeping these people here, right?
Exactly. It's
Colorado's great. Denver's. I mean, there's Washington, Seattle. There's the cities. There's a lot of cool cities out there, right?
I don't know where you were when we woke up this morning, but it was 10 below when I woke up this morning, and I'm wondering why I'm here. But the reality is those are good investments, and I'm not a Vikings fan. As a matter of fact, I know. I'm not on the right show, but I'm not because it's just not me. I think the stadium is one of the smartest things that the state ever did.
Yep.
And I think that it's going to come back to us so many times, and they're going to put $50 million into redeveloping the Nicollet Mall. It's important for a state to have a landmark city.
An identity.
Identity.
Yep.
And St. Paul is wonderful. To visit, you want to live in Minneapolis.
And no offense.
I've been saying that. All right, St. Paul. Hey, I didn't say it. Entire life.
I've got a lot of St. Paul. So if Mayor Coleman is listening, you can call me Mayor. But there's really so many things going on in Minneapolis, and really, there's a lot going on in St. Paul too. But urban living, I think, is absolutely great, and quite honestly, in close within Minneapolis, within the city itself, down in the various neighborhoods around the lakes, and even on the north side, I really am a firm believer that the north side of Minneapolis, we need to put a major investment in new housing in the city, in that particular location, because that'll drive more income into the neighborhood. When we did Grant Park, which is a 320-unit project right over by the convention center that we'll talk about right after this.
Yeah, we got to talk about Grant Park, because what was interesting about Grant Park, and Bob will get into it, is that changed. That area wasn't good, and now it changed for better. But we'll get back into that. You're listening to the Stockwell Roueche Show. I'm Jason Stockwell with Remax Results.
Josh Roueche, Remax Advantage Plus.
We have Bob Lux with Aladdis, Maddie B with Gradient Home Mortgage, and the infamous Casey Thrash. We'll be back.
And I don't know why you don't take me downtown, like you got anywhere better to be. Talk it up and give
Welcome back to the Stockwell Roueche Show. I'm Jason Stockwell with Remax Results.
Josh Roueche, Remax Advantage Plus.
We're talking with Bob Lux of Aladdis. We have Maddie B here, and we've been talking about downtown developments. What's going on downtown? And all kinds of things are happening downtown, and we're very privileged to have
That's a great show today. I'm having fun. This is learning your story and learning what's going on downtown.
Who's doing real big projects downtown. It's really cool to see. So, and really cool to hear. Speaking of seeing, you can see us. If you want to see what we look like, see what Bob looks like, you can go to talktwincitiesrealestate.com. TalkTwinCitiesRealEstate.com. You can find us on Facebook on the Stockwell Roueche Show. Just search Stockwell Roueche. And call us at 651-400-0773, 651-400-0773. Upcoming shows we'll be having will be on timeshares and co-ops, how to buy them properly and sell them properly. We'll have a topic coming up on the money, what's the one?
Crowdfunding?
Crowdfunding.
Wow.
Yes. Crowdfunding. What is it, and is it for you? There's been a lot of news about crowdfunding, and we'll have a special guest, Marshall Saunders, on talking with us about that. So back to Bob. We were left off before break talking about the Grant Park development and how that ties into Bob's feeling of North Minneapolis on the north side, and how to put investment in there to transition or transform the neighborhood. Bob, if you can elaborate on that.
Well, thanks, Jason. And I want to take a second and thank all of you guys for giving me such a warm reception here today. This is really, I'm having a good time too.
Cool.
This is fun. So back in 1999 or early 2000, we'd put under contract the property over by the convention center that Grant Park is now on. So when you come in to downtown Minneapolis on 35W, right off to the right, there's a tall condominium building called Grant Park.
And it's brick, and kind of a brick color. It looks very nice.
Yep.
I mean, when you're coming in,
kind of like it was meant to feel like a stately hotel, like what you would want to go up to.
You guys accomplished that. I got some friends who live in there.
So. Oh, good. So, at that location, actually, when we bought it, you could buy any drug from around the world in that corner because it was a mess. Yeah, there was 900 homeless people living across the street. The Elliott Park neighborhood, 94% of the population was below
poverty level.
Well, almost in the poverty level, but definitely below median income for Minneapolis. And what we did is the city actually put $7.3 million of TIF into that project for us, which all went into the exterior of the building and into the grounds and really made it nice. Yep. But we made it a destination. And what we did is we really brought diversity to that neighborhood by bringing income. Mm-hmm. And once you bring income in, where you make it, people want to live there, make it a good deal for them, but they want to live there. All of a sudden now you get the coffee shops, and you get another. There was a Skyscape was built right after us, which now has a CVS in it, and I know there's a couple other stores that are over in that area.
Some great restaurants that are within walking distance of that building. Kind of what you were talking about. It may not be the Skyway, but close enough proximity that the people who are bringing the income in there actually have somewhere that they want to
somewhere
go.
to go. Right?
Yep. Well, and that on a side note, two things I have questions about, Bob. So that idea, how we can talk about how to bring that into work into North Minneapolis area, the north side. But when you come into South Minneapolis, when you're coming in from that way, that if that area was really that bad, and it sounds like it was really bad before Grant Park came in, that's your first
impression of our city.
Coming into Minneapolis. You can buy drugs on every corner. That's not a good first impression.
And it wasn't. And that, believe me, you can't buy a drug anywhere close around there now. It's really good.
Awesome.
And but really, my belief is that we've got to, as a community, work to try to bring housing in. If you bring quality housing in, all varieties of people, all income levels, all races will want to live there.
Yep.
And that's truly my belief that has to take place on the north side as well.
That can happen. And then the other question I had is, anytime you do a project, especially one like that, let's say Grant Park, or even these what you're proposing, or what ideas you have for the north side, you're going to get the naysayers, the negative Debbie Downers, that won't work. How did you get that with Grant Park? Are you getting that with any other projects? And how do you overcome that? I'm sure you do, but I want to. Maybe it's an easy question, but I want to get into the details of how you overcome that and kind of compel the people to do it. So.
No, you know what? When I had that land under contract and I was going to do this deal, and I've got two good friends that are in the business, in the residential business, and I took them by and I said, "Well, what?" Gave them the vision, and what do you think? Is this cool? And they said, "Are you nuts?" And
oh my goodness!
But you know what? We had a lot of we got lucky. I mean, we had the win in our sales. Condo sales at that time were really positive, so that was kind of fun. But I mean, that's what it takes. You've got to just kind of go after stuff and make it happen. And we're doing it with Blocky right now. Blocky was a miserable failure when it was first developed back in 2000. Out of town developer came in, and of course he knew better than everybody, and tried to do a suburban shopping center in downtown Minneapolis, which just did not work. Put completely the wrong tenants in it, and you couldn't migrate even through the building very comfortably. And so we bought it from the lender back in 2009, kind of at the bottom of the depression. And what we've done now is we're completely revamping the building, putting a very elegant, I believe, exterior on the building, which is almost up now. It's we're waiting on some scrim and stuff, but it'll be completely done in May. And we put the Timberwolves. KG is going to be practicing now up in the top floor of that.
Welcome back, KG.
They'll have two world-class practice facilities up there.
That's cool.
For both the Lynx and the Timberwolves.
That's
their
awesome.
marketing and their head offices are all going to be there. And then the Timberwolves actually brought in the Mayo Clinic. And the Mayo Clinic has an orthopedic sports center there.
Seen commercials out on that.
And it is, I've got to tell you, if anybody has an orthopedic issue, a knee,
the place to go.
That is the place to go, or it's one of the places. I'm sure there's many other fine ones, but I'll tell you, my wife is going there for her knee.
Really?
So it's really, really spectacular.
Well, I drove down there today for a meeting downtown, and I drove by Blocky, and they're working on the outside. Wow, does that look really nice? I love the design and the I don't know what they're putting on it, some sort of metal, commercial stuff, but it looks really good. And you got great tenants, and to get Mayo, and then the Timberwolves, what a great fit. I think it's just a perfect fit for the Blocky, and to have that right next to the Target Center, and if they're going to put money in a Target Center now and make that better than the Timberwolves and all that. So
it's been rebranded now, Mayo Clinic Square. So
Blocky, it's not called Blocky.
Blocky no longer exists. Mayo Clinic Square now going forward. So
Mayo Clinic Square, I like it.
I kind of I love that, and I'm going to go back to what we talked about on break. You're really leaving behind a legacy. Like some of the stuff that you're putting together that you've done. Like I'm sitting here scrolling through the pictures of the Grant building. Like I know a couple of Timberwolves players live in that building. I've got some friends who live in there. That's my, like, when I'm going into downtown, like we're gonna go down and get dinner or whatnot, like that's my first impression. I'm just really impressed with what you've done, and like I said, you're leaving behind something that our whole city is gonna get to remember you for.
Oh, you're very kind. Thank
you. Good
you.
Visionary, Bob Lux with Aladdis, My Home Source. He has the apartments on latitude 45, and working on a potential apartment or condo building. In Northeast.
Yep.
And all kinds of other things. You can find more info. We'll have a lot of info on there.
Yep.
Websites on our talktwincitiesrealestate.com. And you can call 651-400-0773. I wanted to thank Bob Lux. Thanks, Matty B, Josh, Casey, and everybody for the wonderful show and valuable information. In closing, as far as what you see, can you give us a quick closing statement about what you might see for the Twin Cities in the coming years.
Well, I think we've got a good, strong run here for a number of years, and in a developer's life, a number of years is 2 to 3. So I think a number of years it's going to be really positive, and I would just encourage people to, if they're thinking about waiting another 3 or 5 years to move downtown, I would encourage you to move down now and enjoy the life. And some people, it's not their. I remember selling to some really good friends that moved up into the Carlisle. They didn't like downtown. They moved back to Edina. But I think it's a great move. But anyway, you guys are absolutely gracious, and I'm honored to be here with you all.
Thank you, Bob. I'm Jason Stockwell with Remax Results.
Josh Roueche, Remax Advantage Plus.
And you're listening to the Stockwell Roueche Show. We'll be back next week. And remember, love yourself and love others. See ya.